Coming to a star party is always an amazing time. Whether you're looking visually with your eyes, looking at a picture that you have taken, or just here to hang out with all the amazing astronomers, it's always a good time. But when you come to a star party, there are some things you might not think of bringing or doing. I'm currently at the Cherry Springs Star Party in north central Pennsylvania. We're going to walk around and talk to some people for some tips, just in case you're going to be going to your first star party. I am here with Scott Morgan. He is the manager?
Yep, I'm the state park manager here at I'm the assistant park manager of the Hills Creek Complex, but I reside here at Lyman Run and Cherry Springs State Park.
All right, now, one of the things about this is people tend to forget things, or they forget to do something when they come up to a place like this. So what is one of the things that you have seen frequently forgotten?
Okay, so I won't say forgotten, but what I'll say is that they come here very unprepared. I mean, especially if you're from Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. People see the weather up here at Cherry Springs. They see that it's going to be a clear sky, and they decide they're going to drive the 4 to 5 hours to come up here. And they're very unprepared. Usually our overnight facilities are generally reserved well in advance, so they come up here expecting to find a place to stay overnight. The best thing to do is look into that before you even plan to come. We do have local facilities in the towns. Cherry Springs is going to be booked, so don't come up here expecting to find an overnight place. Yeah, that would be one thing.
Yeah, definitely. Always do your research. And that's kind of the point of this video. So I'm glad you're already researching if you're watching it. Kind of along that topic, if there was one tip you could give to somebody coming up here for their first time, just to this park, what would you give them?
For the first time, if you're coming up here, come up here when it's daytime. We always tell people to come here at least an hour before sunset, and that's just so you can get the lay of the land. Cherry Springs is broken up into 3 specific areas of the park. We have the overnight astronomy observation field, we have a rustic campground, and then we also have the night sky public viewing area, which is the area where we do our programming. People tend to drive into the parking lot at night and think that is the night sky public viewing area, so they're going to set up their chairs, and try to view the night sky when vehicles are coming and leaving, and they have a very horrible experience. So if you're not familiar with Cherry Springs, the parking lot is not the night sky public viewing area. It's actually to the east behind what we call the headlight mound. So again, come up during the daytime, get the lay of the land, find out where you're going to go that night, and enjoy the experience.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a great tip, because there's been plenty of times on this field, and I'm sure that anybody else can attest to this, with the lights coming across the road, people coming and going, because they don't know where they're going. Yep. So yeah, definitely at least learn where you're going. Yep. I am here with Bill McGeeney. He is the host of Light Pollution News. If you're a podcast listener and you haven't listened to this, you should definitely go check it out. So first off, how long have you been coming up here?
Coming up here for about 2023. Wow. 2009. 2009 is first time up, and got to see it change, got to see the layout change a bit. And I remember the first time I came up here, it was a cloudy night. I drove up and you had Scott right on before we did this, and he mentioned don't come up here if you don't know what the heck you're doing. And I came up here not knowing what the heck I was doing. It was a cloudy night. You couldn't see a thing. You couldn't see anything. You couldn't see 5 feet in front of you. Couldn't find a field, just laid up camp right there in the parking lot across the street. And then a ranger came by. I heard it in the morning and looked at the tent, and I can imagine them shaking their heads and just walking off.
Oh, geez. What about other dark sky spots? Have you been to any of those?
I haven't been. I've been to Bryce Canyon, but in the Northeast, no. Outside of, I take my telescope with me everywhere I go camping-wise. But I'd love to get up to Maine. I haven't been up there, and I know Spruce Knob is supposed to be pretty great. Haven't been down Spruce Knob yet. Yeah,
I was down to Spruce Knob last year, but unfortunately it was like the weather the past couple days here, where it was a little bit rainy and patchy at night, so didn't really get anything good. But
I hiked through the Maine part. So the dark spot right there in 100-mile wilderness, backpacked through there. But we had a little bit of clouds, so it wasn't great.
Since you've been coming and going to places like this and star parties in general, For somebody attending their first time, what is one tip you would give them?
First tip I would say is know your car, because your car is going to do a lot of weird things. You don't think about it because you never think about what your car does in a parking lot because it's so bright. Up here, every little piece of light matters. So if you can cover up all those headlights, the side lights, whatever the heck else lights, whenever you open that door, if you have to open it, it's going to light up everything. And just, I think that's the number one tip that people don't think about, because when they get up here, they don't realize how many times you go in and out of your car, right? I know myself, I'll forget something. I'll leave stuff all scattered throughout the car. I have to go into it 35 different times. Just make sure you have all the lights covered up, exterior, interior, do whatever you need to do to make it red. I know people around here at the Star Party, you see people have taped cloth over the lights, or they have magnetic strips of clothing that they put over the lights so that way it will just hold there.
Yeah, that's definitely a great tip. And if you want to know some more about doing that, actually, you can watch my last video because we went over all of that. Now, you've been coming here a lot, which means you've forgotten something. What is the thing you've probably forgotten the most?
Well, thankfully, it's not my tripod. That was a different trip. But I would say, oh man, I definitely forgot something major once. And I want to say it was like a power cable, probably to my camera. Yeah, that's what I want to say. And I think I also forgot the handles to my Dob, so I have to lock it in. Forgot that one. Yeah, do organization, man. Make sure you have boxes. I think Mike over there does a great job with his boxes, so you just follow his. Maybe he has a little tutorial on that.
Yeah, we'll get to Mike here in a minute. We actually haven't pulled him in yet, but yeah, be organized, but not bringing a power cable. Oof, that's painful. It's painful. And the little store down the street doesn't have them, so yeah.
I forgot a tripod to somewhere else that's about an hour outside of the city, and that was painful too. So I get there, I just have a mount. I'm like,
ouch. Well, like I said, if you listen to podcasts, definitely check out Light Pollution News. We just recorded an episode with Scott, and it was a pretty good one. You should check it out. All right, so I am here with somebody who I probably don't even need to introduce. If you're watching my stuff, you probably watch his. So, Trevor, first off, do you remember how long it's been since you've been coming here? Or to any Star Party, really?
Yeah, no, this was my first Star Party. I came here for the first time in 2014, 9 years ago. And it was my first time seeing, a sky like this, a Bortle 2 sky. So I knew from that first time I was hooked and that I'd be back.
Awesome. So because you've been coming here for a while, you've probably forgotten something. What would you say, dig deep, what would you say that the most forgotten item is for you?
I mean, so the easiest thing to forget if you're doing astrophotography, honestly, is one cable that you need, whether that's power from like your air to the camera or a USB-C. Those I find are the easiest thing to forget. But another one I've seen people forget is a counterweight too, because it's as you're packing up, it's just not something that sticks out. It's usually flat. Yeah, so it could be anything, but a cable is I think the most common.
Yeah, my last person I just talked to, he forgot power cable. So yeah it's real simple. So always have a box full of cables.
Have two of everything too. That helps too, because your neighbor might be missing something and then you save their day.
Right. Yeah, actually, the case today is I needed a spacer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And someone had one?
Ben has one. So
yes.
Yeah, I forgot my spacer. So
that's a really good one too. Unassuming. It's like, wait a minute, it's one little black ring, right? That's makes or breaks your imaging session. It doesn't take much. That's kind of the cruel thing about astrophotography.
Right. So it's been a while since you've done mostly like very first time beginner stuff. Sure. So if you could think back to something that for your first time, what is a tip that you would give the first timer?
So there's a few things that I always tell beginners to start with. So if you're getting into the astrophotography game and maybe you have your first star tracker, you're doing tracked images, which isn't a super big hurdle to getting into the star trackers, but start wide. Shoot with a camera lens before you ever attach your camera to a telescope, because wider is a lot more forgiving. If your polar alignment's a little bit off, it's easier to find objects and to star align. Once you get into those deep, long focal lengths, everything gets more difficult. all of a sudden, even if you're plate solving, it has a harder time. So shooting wide to start is the key. And once you've mastered that, you can increase focal length over time.
Yeah, and I like that tip. Is one thing I like to encourage too is learning the sky. I mean, go-to is nice and all, but it's also nice when you're doing outreach events when you automatically slew something to whatever object, and people are like, well, how did you do that? Practice.
Yeah, and it becomes second nature too. So the absolute basics of the sky too, and you just the brightest stars, the main constellations, yeah, you at least want to know that. And whether that's just out with binoculars or just looking at the sky, the basics really helps. Even if you're only interested in photographing it, knowing the sky really helps.
It does indeed. But hey, that's all I got for this one for you, Trevor. So
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
just
Thanks,
a real short clip.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Oh yeah, it's always a pleasure, man.
So I am here with Ben from the Narrowband channel. How's it going, man?
Not bad, Alan.
Yeah. So how long have you been coming to star parties like this, or just dark sky sites in general?
So Cherry Springs since 2019, okay, and now star parties like our own observatory has them. I think 7-8 years now.
Okay.
No.
So if you could think back to the first time, what is a tip you would give to a first timer? Somebody that's never been to a star party or a dark sky site.
Well, dress warmly. Every time I've gone to one, even the very first time I went to one, I was cold. Typically these things are held on a clear night, and a clear night gets cold fast. Like as soon as the sun goes down, temperatures start to drop quickly. So that'd be probably my number one piece of advice.
Always dress warm.
Because when you're uncomfortable, you can't observe and have fun. So make sure you're comfortable. Bring an extra layer.
So that's a great tip. Sliding into that, since you've been coming to these, and I know you already mentioned it, but you forgot something. But what is the number one thing that you probably say you would have forgotten the most?
Boy, I forgot a lot of things this trip. I know, we're talking about warm clothes here, and I actually did forget my jacket. I had to buy one. It seems like every single year. I don't know. Man, you got me thinking here. More sleep.
Well, that ain't really going to happen here because people are up at all times.
I'll tell you, one thing we forget, and I wish that we would do this kind of before we even get here, is to start getting ourselves into a rhythm of staying up really late and sleeping in. Because I'm typically a 4 o'clock in the morning person. I actually woke up at 3:40 this morning because that's my alarm clock. And so for me, like, yeah, we've been here 3 days, but we're just now starting to get acclimated to being up at night, you know, which is what you need to do.
Right, yeah, that's going to be rough. I have to work Monday morning, and tonight's going to be great. It's Saturday at the time of recording this, so, you know, going to be up all night tonight, and then driving home tomorrow, and I don't know. Trevor and I were talking about, he's like, you should just ask your boss to stay, so. But, yeah, you know, being prepared is pretty much what we're going for. It's the theme of this video. Definitely make sure that you don't forget certain things. Bill already mentioned dealing with the car.
If you got kids, make sure you have enough diapers. We had to do diaper run today.
Oh, geez, yeah, definitely.
But, you know, there is a little store right down the road here from Cherry Springs, and it never fails. It seems like they have everything you need. And, of course, they kind of tailor themselves to this specific site, like what people at star parties generally need.
For the most part, they have the essentials that you need, but they won't have
ice cream.
Okay, yes, that's an essential, but they don't have like cables or spacers or anything like that.
No,
so you're definitely gonna need stuff like that. Yeah. But when it comes to the camping stuff, you're good going down to that store.
Yeah, I know, and there are vendors that come to these events too, which they have a lot of gear, but odds are spacers, cables, stuff like that. I looked over their tents. I didn't see a lot of that stuff. So those are the kinds of things that you're going to want to bring. I know you came to me asking for a spacer, and I know 6 o'clock in the morning when we were driving here, I just put every single spacer and cable I had into a box, into a big 30-gallon tub, and it's filled to the brim with them. And yes, there are a couple things in there that I did need.
Meanwhile, I didn't have room, so you know, you do what you do. But yeah, make sure you have the spacers and your cables and everything else. So I'm at the CCTS booth, so you're primarily the vendor here, just in case somebody forgot something.
Everybody forgets something.
Yeah. So before we get into it, let's know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
So how long have you been coming to star parties, dark sky spots, stuff like that?
Dark sky spots for probably about 5 years. The Cherry Springs Star Party, first time.
Nice. Oh, we have a first timer here. Ooh, this is gonna be good then. This is gonna be good. So, for star parties in general and dark sky spots, like as a vendor, what have you been seeing that people are forgetting?
The biggest thing is lights. Flashlights, lights for your telescope, red lights, headlamps, anything that's going to help you see in the dark, because white light is forbidden at any dark sky site. So that is number one. Number two would be telescope covers.
Covers, yeah, because like right now it's nice and sunny out, but yesterday it was raining.
Yeah,
and
past 3 days it's been off and on rain.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if you leave your stuff set out, then yeah, you definitely want to have it covered up. That's a good
we
one.
did bring an amazing selection of the Telegizmo covers. So these bins were completely full and now they are sparse. So it's been a good week with covers here so far.
I bet with all that rain. Yeah. So, being that it's your first time here, did you personally forget to bring anything?
Let's see. Did I personally forget to bring anything? No, I think honestly I didn't. I think I prepared. I actually watched your video on preparing the cars before coming. So all of our dome lights are either taped up with red lights or completely turned off. I made sure all of the automatic headlights and functions like that are completely off. So when we open a door or click the clicker on the car, nothing blinks or flashes. So that was the first thing. So that was good. And then just getting here, I think it was mostly like, you know, knickknacks that you need personally, like condiments and stuff. But the nice thing about being a vendor is that if I do forget something, or actually, for instance, the other night we set up and I have a light setup so it's easy to take in and out when it does start to rain, but I didn't feel like redoing my polar alignment again. So I took a cover and covered it up. I bought a cover from us, said, you know what, I'm going to need this anyway, and I covered it up for now. So that would be the one thing I did forget, I guess, if I would had to say I forgot something.
Right. And aside from things to bring, what about a tip that you would give to somebody showing up for their first time to a star party or a dark sky spot?
Bring a camera, any kind of camera. It does not matter, because even during the day, there is so much here to take pictures of. There's equipment here that you will see nowhere else. People make their own homemade equipment that is absolutely unbelievable. They modify their trailers, which is amazing to have. Like they take the kitchens out of their trailers and put an entire astrophotography suite in there. And, you know, seeing stuff like that, to see the innovation in this hobby, first of all, to see the innovation as a vendor is amazing, to see where we've come in the past 10 years of this hobby. But to see the innovation by everybody who comes here, they come one year and they say, oh, you know what would be nice if we had next year? And then they show up next year and they've made it or they've done it, you know? So, you know, talking to everybody, they were like, oh, yeah, last year I didn't do this, but I got the idea at the last star party. So that's really, really awesome. So definitely bring a camera of any kind and a tripod, because you're going to want to set it up at night when it does clear up. So
Definitely. And you do astrophotography, right? Where can people find you?
I live in New York. I'm on Long Island. Our store is also on Long Island, Camera Concepts. We're up in Stony Brook. And you can find us online at cameraconcepts.com. You know, we have a full line of everything from camera equipment to telescope and astrophotography equipment. And if you want to find me here, I'm all the way in the back corner, on the corner of Cygnus and Orion.
And if people want to take a look at your pictures, you post them anywhere?
I'm Astro Puppet, Astro_Puppet, like your Astro_Escape on Instagram, and same on Astrobin.
So for those of you that are members of the Discord server, these are the moderators. If you're not, you should definitely join. This is Mike Miller, and this is Zach Zelazny, or on Discord, Astro Biomass. Now, first off, guys, how long have you been coming, Mike, to star parties or dark sky locations?
So I've been coming to Cherry Springs for 10 years this year. The first time I was here was with just a little EP3 digital camera and a wide-angle lens on full moon night. I didn't know better.
Ooh, tough choice of a night. And Zach?
I think it's been about 5 years for me.
and I brought my big DSLR and a tripod that couldn't track anything at all, and a pair of binoculars, and had a blast.
Nice, nice. So thinking back to that first time, if you could give somebody, say you have another friend that is getting in their first time to a dark sky spot or star party, what advice would you give them?
I would say use a calendar that shows the moon phases first. And then also, pack for all weather conditions. It's been almost freezing here. It's been 75 today, so it's warm and cold and everything. So
Yeah, I agree. With the wind, I'm sure you can see and hear it flopping around here. When it's calm, it's actually pretty warm, but as soon as that wind picks up, we all just grabbed our hoodies before hitting record. Like, it is different here. Zach?
Bring some kind of cover, if bring a tent or be comfortable in your car, being able to lay down. It gets really dewy here a lot of times. And I think the first time I was out here, I had this romantic notion that I would be on a blanket and I'd be laying down and looking with my binoculars. And about 10 o'clock, I was soaked and it was 20 degrees and it was very unfun.
I bet. Yeah, I even noticed that the other night laying in the hammock. It dewed up pretty fast just laying there. So we already know, they already know actually, about the little forgetfulness that I've had with the spacer. So what is the item that you've probably forgotten the most?
I wouldn't say the most, but I've definitely, I use checklists. I have a checklist for everything that I bring out here. But sometimes the checklist will be bring the box that contains a thing, and then the thing is not in the box. So one thing is like, okay, if you have a bunch of things that are in separate containers, make sure you look in all the containers, make sure that you have set up your system in your backyard, in your living room, just to make sure you've got all the pieces.
Yeah, that's a good call there. Double check the boxes themselves, not just the box. Zach, what do you got?
Yeah, don't pack the day of. Don't pack the day you're planning to leave. Pack at least the day before so that you do have that opportunity to be organized about everything that you're packing. CCTV at this star party in particular has been fantastic about being able to help me when I've forgotten things. I've forgotten dovetails. I've forgotten counterweights. The one thing that they usually don't have, though, is a counterweight bar. So make sure that you have your counterweight bar for your mount.
Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate for you, though, last year because they weren't even here. So the last thing is, where do you guys post your stuff since you guys are astrophotographers?
On Astrobin, my name, Mike Miller.
Mostly just on the Discord channel now, but I do tend to upload things on Telescopius as well.
Excellent. Check these guys out when you get a chance. And like I said, if you're not on the Discord server, definitely pop in. These guys are extremely helpful. Both of these guys do narrowband and I don't, so they help with that aspect. So it's all helping hands, helping everybody out. So earlier I had Trevor on, and if you've seen any of Trevor's video, you've seen this guy Adam, and he's been talking the ASI air up and down just like I do, but he's also been at it for a while. So how long have you been coming to star parties or just dark sky sites in general?
Star parties probably since 2015 or 16. Cherry Springs, I think 2017 was the first time I came here.
So it's been a few years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So in that time, you've probably forgotten a few things. What would you say is the most forgotten item?
Most forgotten item, the right USB cable, the right power cord, the right spacer. Those are all important things, especially not even forgetting, but not having a backup of a power cord or a USB cord that could break or snap at the worst and most inopportune time.
Right, yeah, and we've had tips about the power cords earlier, and they already know about my spacer problem I had.
Right.
So,
Yep.
yeah, that's definitely the thing. Have extras.
Definitely.
If you were getting a new friend into this hobby, and it was their first time, say you couldn't be there, what advice would you give them?
keep it as simple as possible. You can make this hobby as complex or as simple as you want it. And when you're starting out, short focal length, use a DSLR, which is usually something that people have familiarity with going into the hobby, as opposed to a cooled camera where there's a learning curve. So get a good mount, short focal length is very forgiving, and start off with a DSLR. And then the hobby will take you in a direction. You're going to have no idea where it's going to take you. There's a million different ways to do this hobby, and just follow what keeps getting you outside.
Right. Yeah. You could purely stay with the DSLR and just do Milky Way galore, or you could do deep sky or planetary or solar. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
100%.
Now, do you share your photos out at all?
I do. I share mainly on Instagram. Spaced Out Pics is my Instagram handle, but that's basically the only place. Maybe Facebook, some Facebook groups here and there, but that's about it. Yeah.
All right, so check out Spaced Out Pics if you haven't already. Getting down to the wire here. It's getting dark here soon, so gotta stop interviewing people, but I'm here with Aaron, right across from where we were just with Adam, and he's been at it for a while too, right?
About 3 years now. Yeah.
So has it just been dark sky sites or star parties, a combination of both? About how long have you been doing this?
So for 3 years, this is actually my third year here. I came to, in 2021, I came to the Black Forest Star Party, and I came last year. So this is my first year at Cherry Springs. So doing the Cherry Springs Star Party. Usually I'm at home. If I have a clear night and I'm home, then I do everything in the front yard or the backyard and just leave everything out. I do have I'm in a Bortle 5 where I live now. So I'm in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. And it's a Bortle 5 there, but up near Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, there's a place right on the Appalachian Trail, and it's a Bortle 4. So we will go up there sometimes and just take one of these up there and just play around with it. So.
Okay, I have to spin off just a little bit. Going for the Appalachian Trail, do you ever go deal with the hikers that go through and show them anything?
No, I haven't seen anybody up there, actually. So the place where I go, it's part of the Michoud State Forest, and you have to get a permit to camp there. A lot of what happens up there at this area is ATVs. So people will bring their four-wheelers, their dune buggies, whatever, and just ride the trails.
And if you have to pay for a permit, then the AT hikers will probably bypass it a little bit.
It's kind of near there. It goes right by it, but I haven't really seen anything. Like, we'll go camping up there and just haven't seen too many hikers. But
yeah, that's one thing I've wanted to do is go down there and do trail magic is what they call it, where they leave a cooler, Coke or something or Pepsi, just to give the hikers a little bit of a happy time, like, woo, it's not water that we filtered, but I'd like to do that just with a telescope, hang out at a trailhead. So since you've been at it for a while, you've probably forgotten something.
Probably, yes.
What do you think the most forgotten item is?
Maybe batteries, I'd say. I don't know. Cables. So,
cables is a big one I've been hearing.
Yeah, I forgot a big one. I'm just starting off-axis guiding with this big telescope. So with that, I got a helical focuser for the guide scope or guide camera, thinking that it was going to be easier to find a star and focus on it. And what it did was it actually messed up my back focus. And that was the one piece that I forgot to bring, was because I thought I was solving a problem. Like, I have this new helical focuser, I'm going to use it, it's going to be great. And I forgot that piece, the original piece that came with the off-axis guider.
Oh man, that's whew. That's a good point too. If you're changing systems up, kind of like I just did, you guys already know, so I'm not going to keep hammering it in, but make sure you bring everything.
Yeah, and honestly, I got really lucky this week too. I've been here since Monday, and while the weather's been bad, we did have one night on Wednesday where things opened up. I got everything lined up. I want to shoot the Ghost of Cassiopeia with this. Got it lined up, went to guide, and realized I couldn't find a star to save my life. Like, I could not get the sensor close enough to the prism. So luckily I have Adam, I have Ken over here. They both chipped in, and we got it knocked out, so it's all dialed in and ready now. But if it was just me at home, I think I would have been going crazy. Like, what is happening with this thing? So
right. Ouch. Oof. Well, it's a good thing that it's ready to roll tonight.
Yeah, it should be good to go.
Now, say you had a friend that you were getting into the hobby, and they were going to come to here, a dark sky spot, but you couldn't be there to help them. What advice would you give them?
Probably to keep at it. That was the main thing for me when I first started. I had something go wrong every single night, and I didn't have anybody there to help me. So it was basically YouTube, internet, like just trying to troubleshoot what was happening. And really what kept me going was just to keep going. I mean, you just keep moving with it.
Eventually everything clicks in.
Yeah, and it does. And then you learn more and more about what your gear can actually do.
Right. Yeah, that is true, because you know every aspect of it has a learning curve. Whether you're doing Milky Way shots or you're doing deep sky or planetary, there's always something to learn on the hardware side, and that's before you even take it in to do processing. So, yeah.
And I'm still learning stuff about that. I mean, I have 4 ASIs, the ASI Airs, and there are still things in there that I didn't know about. Even working on this problem this week, like there were things in there as far as gain goes, as far as different settings to use. You know, things that I'm still picking up on. I mean, it's a great tool, but it is kind of in-depth sometimes.
Right. And for the Air, I mean, it's great that they're constantly updating, but the little changes that they make, like, they're not always publicly announced.
Yeah,
and
you kind of have to go find things.
Yeah.
So.
But, all right. So do you share your stuff out at all?
Yeah, I just started an Instagram a few weeks ago. It's First Age of Sand. And that's a reference to it's kind of an obscure Douglas Adams lecture. But he was talking about the ages of sand as far as what we can do with sand. So the first age being making lenses for telescopes. So, and then the second age would be microscopes. And then the third age is fiber optics, so the internet and everything. So
that's pretty cool. Definitely check him out on Instagram and see all of his stuff, especially when he gets the picture process for that.
yeah.
All right, so we went around and talked to a lot of people and had some great tips. The Astro community is amazing, and you will find all the help you need anywhere around here. Now, I don't really have to tell you guys what I forgot, because it kind of already got spilled throughout the day that I forgot a spacer. But the tip I would give you is, if you don't have a tent, or even if you have the budget to get one, I would recommend getting one of these darkroom tents. And the reason for that is they block out a lot of light, and you can climb into your tent at night, take a nap while things are rolling, and then not shine on everybody around you, just like you would with a regular tent. And then during the day, it's nice and cool when you take your nap during the midday. And when you do have your tent, make sure you stake it down. And if you take Mike's tip from earlier about having canopy, make sure it's staked down too, because you don't want this to happen. As I said, it is getting dark here. We're gonna be approaching sunset here in about an hour. So it's time for dinner, and we're gonna go ahead and get everything rolling. If you found this video helpful, please do like, comment, and then maybe consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. Clear skies.